Next month will mark 19 years since the creation of the Department of Homeland Security. This morning, the Senate committee overseeing the department held a hearing on how worldwide threats have evolved over the past 2 decades. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, FBI Director Christopher Wray, and National Counterterrorism Center Director Christine Abizaid testified on how national security has changed since the 9/11 terror attacks. CBS News senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge joins me now with more from the hearing. Catherine, welcome. So FBI Director Wray said the Bureau is dealing with a spike in ransomware attacks. What are we learning about the money involved and who is the target?
Well, Elaine, Director Wray's testimony really underscored 2 basic principles. Number one, that ransomware is a criminal enterprise designed to raise money. And the second is that American small and medium-sized businesses are disproportionately targeted. They are least able to defend themselves and the most likely to pay the ransom. Director Wray told lawmakers that the number of ransomware attacks spiked in 2020. It was a 300% jump over previous years, and about 2,400 entities were targeted, and they ranged from healthcare institutions to schools. So that gives you a sense, I think, of the driving edge with ransomware, which is that it's disproportionately targeting these small businesses. They're least able to pay. And in many cases, they are paying ransoms at about $300,000, Elaine.
Wow. Well, Director Wray once again emphasized what he sees as the greatest domestic threat. Here's some of what he said.
Today, the greatest terrorist threat we face here in the U.S. is from what are in effect lone actors. Because they act alone and move quickly from radicalization to action, often using easily obtainable weapons against soft targets, these attackers don't leave a lot of dots for investigators to connect, and not a lot of time in which to connect them.
Catherine, who are these actors and how are they getting radicalized?
Well, Elaine, the director testified that they divide into 2 buckets. The first bucket are American citizens who are radicalized by jihadist ideology. I thought it was noteworthy that Director Wray said that he was watching any developments in Afghanistan, clearly a reflection of concern that it could become a safe haven again now that the Taliban is control. Director Wray also said that he is surging resources against this ideology, specifically al-Qaeda and also ISIS. The second bucket is the domestic extremist bucket. Think about January 6th. Director Wray said the vast majority of individuals in this group have an ideology that has radicalized them, that has to do with white supremacy, racial or ethnic divisions. And I think what's noteworthy, based on my reporting here at CBS News, is that in both buckets, the mechanism for radicalization is very similar. It's a digital radicalization. It's allowing like-minded people to share the same ideas, whether they're connecting through social media or other technology, and that sort of amplifies it, and it gives them that courage and that ability to cross that threshold to violence, Elaine.
Yeah, we see a lot of people finding those like-minded folks and connecting with them with the push of a button now. How did Secretary Mayorkas explain the humanitarian crisis that we're seeing unfold on the border in Del Rio, Texas?
Well, there are really 2 elements to his testimony, Elaine. The first is that he addressed these images that I think many of us have seen at this point. These are images of border agents on horseback being physically abusive or using whips. The counterpoint to that is that the agents can't tell the difference visually between smugglers and those who are trying to enter the U.S. illegally. He also took a hard line of questions from Republican senators on that committee, and he was not able to tell them how many people have been apprehended at the southern border and how many of those who have entered the United States have then returned to comply with the immigration process itself. Republicans charged that however he wanted to spin it, that's their terms, all people had to do was to look at the video from Del Rio to conclude that this is a humanitarian crisis, and Republicans are blaming the Biden administration's immigration policies, Elaine.
Well, Director Ray said more law enforcement officers have been killed so far this year than in all of 2020. What else does that data show?
I found this one of the most sobering moments in the testimony today, in the sense that we've all had that perception or that feeling that the conditions on the ground have become more violent for law enforcement, but we haven't quite had that data to put it in perspective. And Director Ray said that 52 law enforcement officers had been feloniously killed. That's a legal term meaning the individual attacked the officer with an intent to harm. And Director Ray said that comes to about one officer every 5 days, and that so far in 2021, the number of law enforcement officers killed has already exceeded the total in 2020.
Disturbing to hear that. Senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge. Catherine, thank you very much.